Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Deep Talk. This is a platform where we don't tell you what to do, but remind you of things you know or might have forgotten as a result of life's daily hassles. Now, today we're going to be talking about a topic that's really dicey but very interesting: married but still single. Now, most of us will be thinking, or might be thinking, that how's that possible? How can a person be married, but still single? Now, well, I have an amazing guest with me. I'm not alone in the studio today, and he's gonna be helping us, while we have the discussion, to actually educate and enlighten you guys on the show. I'm not alone, like I said. I have Richard with me. Richard is an amazing person, and he's part of the studio. And part of what we do here. He has great programs in on our platform, so you can always check them out. Richard, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure having you here.
I'm honored.
Yeah, I've had several several topics on this program, Real Deep Talk, and to have you here, this today, it's really amazing. I know we're going to have an amazing session.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so married but still single. What do you think about that? What does that mean?
Well, the topic, it's like you having two things contradicting itself, or the kind of side by side, like it's opposite to each other. Now, married but still single, that will keep people thinking, how can I be married and then still single at the same time?
Yeah, definitely, because it hit me so hard when I had to say the topic, married but still single. How's that possible? But I feel it's just a matter of dissecting the topic. And then that's why I have it here. Okay?
All right.
So we're going to be having a discussion actually, but you're going to pitch it more. So can you explain that? Can you dissect it a little bit for us?
Okay. When we talk about being married and being single at the same time, okay, it's more like, now for real you're married, but then there are certain things that makes it feel like you are in the marriage all by yourself. Now that's one thing. It's one thing to be married, and then it's another thing to have that connection with who you are married.
Okay.
So now, to begin the topic, the first thing I would look at, or the first thing we'll talk about, is you being married. Now, being married is just the physical presence aspect.
Okay.
Now, but being actually married is now the connection, the emotional presence now. The connection now talks about the emotional presence in the marriage. You could be with someone in the same house, and then it feels like you are all alone.
I think I need to add here. You see, it is not about the name marriage itself. Yeah. It's about two people coming together and then making things work.
Sure.
So it is not. It is everybody's business.
It's everybody's
in
business.
That union. Because I've seen some people who they got married and they didn't drop some things.
Now that's another key point.
Yeah, and they actually didn't take some things, because I feel marriage is all about you have to get to a mental point in your life and a psychological sphere where you understand that you are there's a transition from one phase of your life to another, and then that entails that you have to drop some habits, some lifestyle, even some hobbies. It goes down to that.
Now I agree with that.
Picking something up.
I agree with that, talking about dropping habits and then picking. There are good habits and then there are bad habits.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now take, for example, you're married to someone. Maybe you're someone who you are so addicted to your phone, the social media. It's something that happens all the time, and then you are very glued to your phone, so addicted to it that it's like you're married to the phone.
Yes, and then that's a big turn off.
Yes, and then you're with someone, who you claim you are married to, and then you love the person, you're always on your phone. The person, okay, now take for example, the wife is trying to explain something to the husband, and then he's glued to his phone, and then the woman is saying everything, and then at the end of the day, you know, that kind of thing too. Oh, are you okay? What's your contribution in all this I've said? And he says, what did you say?
Like the caught unaware.
Yeah, so it's going to be frustrating because now the person is, it looks like this person is not even paying attention to what I'm saying. There's no connection. This person just feels like, you know, I'm just all here by myself. Because you can't say everything you feel like saying, trying to express yourself to the other person, and he's not paying attention. I've had cases of, not in married now, but let me just, it's kind of, now they were in a relationship or something, and you know, this person is the kind of person whereby the other person would, you know, I have my concerns and all of that, things like that. I'll tell them to you, and then the other person takes it seriously. You know, there are people who takes, when you are saying something about yourself, they take it seriously as if it's their own issues. Okay. Now, but the other person, on the other hand, don't take this thing seriously. Now, when the other person is explaining certain things, you know, those kind of response.
Should be so much levity.
Yes. You know, those kind of response like, okay, all right, okay, we'll see what we can do. You know, those kind of responses that this person is not even showing concern about what I'm even going through. He's not paying attention. And then you go back to ask that person certain things that, okay, I told you this at some point in time, and then I was even looking for your opinion on or how I can get out of this. And the person tells you that, I'm not sure he told me anything like that.
So I think I would like to add, you know, from what you said, like this is, you know, one of the problems in marriages, and then that is why we say you're married but single.
Yes.
Like now you're not a single person anymore.
You're not a single person.
Yes, and then that means that you've collected or gotten or attributed one more responsibility to yourself of another person. So, and then if we are going by Bible standards, you know, it says two become one.
Yeah.
That means you have to be fully involved in that person's life.
True.
You know, the same way you want them to be fully involved in your
exactly.
life. So it's not you giving 50% and you want 100% from them.
No, it doesn't work that way.
You know, it's not going to work that way. So I get what you're saying. But the whole idea of married but single, I think we've not hit it still. You know, what does it mean? Is it that this person is married and single at the same time? It's how does it work? For the benefit of our viewers, how do we point this out so that people get it clearly?
Okay, I'm going to start with it's more like a figure of speech though. Okay. When you hear the word bitter truth. Now those words you know, you can't put them side by side. Okay, so now it's the same thing as married but still single. And now another thing I would say is this: you can have your wedding ring or wedding band, whichever one is called, and still feel abandoned. Now that's where the idea comes from, married but still single. Now the wedding band should serve as a means of commitment. A symbol of commitment that, okay, now I'm committed to this person. You know, the two has become one, and then we would fellowship together, do certain things together, and make sure that visions, goals, and dreams, and all of that. But this person is,
I think to me it's just like a reminder. Whenever you see it, you know that you know, this is that commitment.
Yes, it helps you. Yes, it's a reminder.
Kind of like a reminder, yeah.
But then it's there, but you know, it's supposed to play the role of reminding you, but it's not doing that anymore because the connection died along the line.
But what kills this connection? Because, you know, I understand now that married but still single or married but single simply means that you're married but you're not getting the benefits of somebody who is married.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it seems, you correct me if I'm wrong, it seems that your partner still lives a single life despite they're married to you.
Okay.
And then I think to me that's what it boils down to, the fact that, you know, I said it earlier when we started this, you know, conversation, that when you're getting married, there are things you pick the things you take and the things you drop. You must do those two.
Of course.
You because definitely there might be ways you're living when you're single, so free. You come to the house 12 a.m. You nobody checks you, nobody bothers you. Nobody what do you call it? Tame you. You understand? But when you're married, even though you're the man, you should know that you're tamed by someone,
Sure.
which is your wife. Not for the wrong reason actually, but for the right reason. So and vice versa. So, and then if there's several things the woman is doing when she's single, she should know that when she's married, she should drop those things.
Yeah.
Whether she likes it or not, unless she doesn't want to be a responsible wife. And for the man, if he doesn't want to be a responsible husband. So I feel that's where the kicker is. That's where the point is.
Okay.
So when you don't do these things, your partner will feel left out.
That's true.
They'll feel they're left in the middle of the ocean. And then feel empty.
Okay.
So that vacuum needs to be filled.
Now, speaking of which, there are two things I'll talk about: friendship and then communication. Now, but before I talk on that, let me say this: married but still single. Now, there are certain things you'll be doing that the other it just feels like you're not married yet, and the other person will be left out because he's not getting the benefit, like you said, in the marriage. Now, how can someone who claims to be married takes decision all by himself or all by herself without consulting the other person?
I think that's not right.
Now, that's where being married but still single comes in.
Please enlighten us.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Now, look at it this way. Now, let's say I'm married, have a wife, and then I'm going to take a life-changing decision, which can either build or destroy my life. Now, if I'm someone who doesn't have the ideology or see things differently now that I am married, I'll take that decision all by myself without consulting my partner or my spouse. Now, you know that as the head of the family, whatever decision you make is either going to put the family in ruin or it's going to take the family to the next level.
Yeah, sure.
So these are not decisions that, especially life-changing decisions, you just take on your own and then you feel, yes, I'm the head of the family and so what? Now, but you should know that there are certain things you do. You are not just on your own anymore.
Yeah.
If you do that, your wife suffers for it. The kids also suffer for it. Now, but you think it is a decision for you to make, let's say a job or something, or you have to travel out, or possibly for greener pastures and all of that. Such decisions you don't just take on your own, because there's someone also there. You didn't think about the emotional aspect of the other person. How would that person feel when you just take that decision on by yourself and leave? Now, these people you guys are one now. So any kind of you going afar off, and then there has to be a closure. But then if you don't discuss with the person, it's going to be more.
Yeah, sure.
So that is why you need to set decisions. You sit down with your wife, discuss about it, and then there's an agreement between the two parties. And then whatever happens at the end of the day, everybody knows that yes, I am in it. I was part of this decision.
Yeah, Richard, really nice one. You really, really enlighten us on that aspect of, marriage, that people need to really put heads together to do things. You cannot stand on you're not the only one, right?
Yeah.
Though one person, sails the boat, but the other person still contributes. So it has to be, hand in hand. But I'd like to add something here, Richard.
Okay.
We've talked about the decision-making, aspect of marriage. I like to talk about the roles. When you get married as a woman, I'd like to talk about the women first. When you get married as a young lady, I always say this: before you say "I do" to a man, know this, so you have peace. You are shutting yourself out from every other man.
That's correct.
It sounds weird, but that's the truth. And as a man, when you say "I do" to a woman, you are shutting yourself out from every other woman.
That's correct.
You understand? But I think most times people think they can eat their cake and still have it.
And then they're not ready for marriage.
Yes, that's really dumb. Because it doesn't work that way. You understand? Once you're with someone in a marriage, you understand? In marriage rather, you have no liberty outside that marriage in terms of having a relationship with the opposite sex. That's what I mean. You understand? Not that you don't have friends that are opposite sex, no, but sexual relationship and what have you, intimate relationship as a matter of fact, you don't have. It has to be that person. So if you've not made up your mind, don't do it. You're not forced. I don't think there's anywhere it's written that if you don't get married, if you die, you won't make heaven. I don't think it's there. No. If I'm wrong, correct me.
No, Apostle Paul didn't get married.
Beautiful. So it's a decision. You're not cajoled into doing it or forced. It's a decision you have to take. So the rules are clear. I'm going there now.
Yeah.
As a man, you have to love.
Of course.
And love your wife even as Christ loved the church. That's a big task. Because you know the truth, love is very hard.
Of course it is.
Yes. And then the problem with men is their sight. I've said this somewhere before, but I have to just check it in. That's what they see. So it's always difficult to love one person and just stick to that. But that's
where discipline comes.
Yeah, that's where discipline comes. So it's a big task. You have to do it. And for the woman, you submit. To me, I might be wrong, but to submit is a high level of love. Because when you submit to someone, even when they are not there, you do the things you do in front of them behind their back.
That's true.
So it takes a lot.
It takes a lot.
Now, how many civilized women? I'm not saying civilized women are bad. That's not the point. But because they know too much, it's hard to submit. So they still want to, just like you said, make decisions on their own. You think you're still single, so you just, your friends call you to hang out, you just go.
No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. So you want to do this, you just do. You understand? You keep your money to yourself. You don't care. Once you get into that union called marriage, you have to understand that it is different from when you're single.
Of course.
Your roles have changed. Okay, your roles have changed. If you don't spend money on people before, maybe your family members, because they know you're a woman, you don't, it doesn't bother them. You have to start doing that now in your marriage, because this is two of you. This is two people's business, not just one person. So, that is where the roles. I just want to hit on the roles a little bit. Okay. So people should know that, so that you don't have that freelance. Or freedom rather, as though you're still single. There's commitment now, and always remember that someone is taming you. You're being tamed by someone, which is your partner.
And not controlling it.
Not controlling.
Yeah, because many
not
people
for the wrong reason.
Get that wrong.
Yeah, you sure.
He wants to control me. She wants to control me.
No, not for the wrong reason. Just because they have to look out for you, and you have to look out for them. If something bad happens, they'll be the first person to be called.
Of course.
So you have to be careful how you live your life. So that is where those things come in. So you have to be responsible as partners. So that's that's just the point I wanted to make in terms of roles.
Yeah. I also talked about friendship and communication. I said I was going to talk about that. Now you see, most relationship or most marriages started from friendship.
Yeah.
And that any marriage that's the foundation is usually very, very solid. Now, but the point is this: when that fades away, they become a shadow of themselves. And that is why, if you got married to someone who was your friend, the person should still remain your friend.
Yeah, sure.
But you know what happens, and why people now feel married and still single, is because when they got married, let me use the word transition from friendship to just being dutiful. People it just feels like a duty now.
And Richard, sorry for cutting you short. I know you have a lot to say. I think that is where it comes in when there's this people get too official in marriages.
It's not a business or work setting,
And
workspace.
do you know that a friend, a friend, the way you treat your friend is different from the way you treat your partner.
Exactly.
Because you know that you can easily forgive your friend and move on with them. But it's hard to forgive your partner and still continue with them. Why is it always like that? Because people are too official. There's no friendship before. Or there was there was friendship, but it fades, it faded out.
That's what the problem is.
So they became official because they're married now. Oh, you can touch this, you can touch that, you can do this, you can do that. Let's see. Being too official stops the boats from sailing.
If you carry out or do your marriage on an unofficial note, it will definitely crash, because it's just like looking at your boss in the office. You can't just walk up to your boss and say anything you feel like.
No, you cannot.
But if it's your friend, you can tell your friend, now someone you are comfortable with.
Comfortable, yeah.
You tell them anything because you know you won't be judged. But now when people get official in marriages, now it now looks like the case of the subordinate and the boss. So you now feel I can't say this, I can't say that because I'll be judged.
Yes, and people when you're not free and you're too careful, that's when you make a lot of mistakes.
The problem is when you're with someone that you're afraid to say certain things so that it doesn't become a problem. That's an issue.
And definitely, humans were not perfect.
Not at all.
We only strive for perfection daily by mistakes and trying and keep trying. Yes.
I feel marriages should be safe space for each one of us. When it's a safe space, even if you've done something really, should I use the word terrible now, you feel bad for what you've done, but it will be easy for you to open up to your partner because you know that you will not be judged. Yes, he will get angry, she would get angry, but then...
Exactly, Richard. And this takes me to the point where, where I wanted to, because I wanted to say this, it makes it easy for forgiveness. Because the truth about marriage is, this person is going to make mistakes.
So many times.
Yes, and you also, you're going to make mistakes yourself. So, if forgiveness is easy to come by, it keeps the boat sailing. And because there are going to be things that nobody prays for bad things, but bad things will always happen, or mistakes rather. Let's put it that way. So when they make mistakes, it's easy because they're your friends. You can. I know some friend who's been with me for years now, and one or two times he's done something wrong. Forgave him. One or two times I've done something wrong, he forgave me, and we moved on easily because we're friends. But let's turn the tables around. If he was a woman and then my partner, I don't think we'll still be tagging along to today, because we become too official. There's no friendship, and then forgiveness becomes difficult. And I feel and then that is where you hear people say, oh no, I don't believe, or I do believe that he or she could ever do this. But they're humans.
Of course they are.
Yes, sir. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's the problem. When we start being so official, there's no way it can work. Because when you start seeing that person like the scenario I gave, the boss and the subordinate, there will be a problem.
The serious one.
There will be a problem.
Too official.
And I think anyone who wants to go into marriage, if you don't want to feel single at the end of the day, you must create enough space in your heart for forgiveness.
Yes, because you will always have to keep forgiving.
Yes.
I think that's the key point there.
That's just the thing.
That's the key point.
Because if you feel, okay, I just want a person to, and you should, how do I say it now? You should give room for people to be human.
Yeah. Don't think there's no way they cannot do that.
Yes.
They will do that.
Yeah,
but the point is, once they did it, they acknowledge they're wrong, and then they get back.
I think that's the most important thing.
Because I always say this, Richard, I'm not looking for a perfect woman to get married to. There's none.
There is none.
I'm not no perfect man either.
Not at all.
But what you need as a person, as a young person, if you want to get married, is somebody who's willing and able to get better.
That's it.
You get, he or she is willing and able to get better. Now, you see, being willing is one thing. Oh, they're willing to do a certain thing. You have the will to do it. You understand? Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
No matter how hard it is. And then the ability helps you achieve it. Being resilient.
True.
So that's why you need somebody who's willing and able to get better. That's what you need in a relationship that gets into marriage.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's a profound truth.
No perfect person anywhere. I've not seen one.
No, there is none.
Yeah. So that's it. Richard, thank you so much for being here. It's really a pleasure having you here. Each time we talk about things, topics, you come up with things that open our eyes. It's really amazing. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to have you here. So, but before you leave, any last words, concerning this topic?
Yes.
To our viewers.
Now, to our viewers, what I would say is, the last thing I have for you is communication. Yes. No relationship, no marriage, no friendship will survive without effective and efficient communication. So if you don't build that, you'll only be living like strangers. And let me tell you something that would shock you seriously. If you do not build that now, you might have kids and all of that. Some just hide under the shadow of that, and then they, everybody just do what they want, and at the end of the day, when the kids are grown, they would leave. You guys started the journey. You would end it. You finish it together. So if there is no communication, how do you do it then? It becomes a problem. So work on effective communication daily. Intentionally communicate to your partner or your spouse. It's very, very, very important. It builds connection, and then it brings you people together. It builds the bond. It makes it stronger. Thank you so much.
So really, thank you so much, Richard, for having, we really appreciative of the fact that you always turn up whenever we ask you to come, so it's really amazing. Thank you so much. So to our viewers, thank you so much for always staying there, watching our videos, commenting, sharing, and, giving us that inspiration. Like we always say, this is real deep talk. This is where we stay real and talk deep. Okay, we don't tell you what to do. We only remind you of the things you know, but might have forgotten as a result of life's daily hassles. So keep those comments coming, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.